we are altering, which, as we know, this is kind of the tricky part where you're like, I know I need to get there's some decks that it's just, for example, I think any deck with Amethyst can be a little easier because you're like, whatever, I need to draw cards, I need some one
Yeah.
drops.
Draw more cards, win more games. That's
Exactly.
commandment number 1 of trading card games.
Yes. But in this case, I think we have figured out at this point that Mr. Zenulus here, Zenulus, Frenulus, as I like to call him because he's really nice. If not Fren, why
Fantastic.
Frenulus shaped? But he is on Ruby Sapphire. And then we see, is that another Sapphire?
That is
No.
Sapphire Steel.
Insane. And I love it.
Oh, I was actually standing behind this player because he was the lone, as people like to affectionately call it, Kiwi player that I could see.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard out here but I think I said this yesterday, and I'll say it again, but find yourself somebody that loves you as much as Blue Steel or Sapphire Steel players love their deck because they're like, listen,
It might be impossible.
it might not be because they're like, listen, I love this deck so much, I'll never stop. Okay, so we got Eric P, who is also undefeated. So these are two undefeated people, but they're both playing for 4 packs. They're playing for staying undefeated and playing for 4 packs. And we see a Calhoun kind of going, I'll show up. I guess if there's a baby, if a Tipo shows up, I can go ahead there.
Not ideal, but uninkable. So you definitely don't want to get choked up on it. You'd rather play a Calhoun than, say, a Mr. Smee, because later in the game you may need to ink that Smee or you may need to double spell.
Yeah, and a body's a body. So she's just out there and she says, yeah, like you said, and we may need that ink very much because that Robin Hood, he can shift technically, but we see lots of other staples. Oh, well, I got sad.
Inking the shifter. Okay.
But going wide is nice here.
Yeah, I was going to say not even that ideal in this matchup to have the shift target, whereas Alice is dodging things like Brawl.
Exactly. And also kind of nice for Coil as well, because if she's giving that ward to somebody else, then suddenly if Zen drops down Zen, I'm going to call him Zen now, we're cool.
Yeah, we're basically best friends.
Yeah, if Zen decides to start deploying some Coil shenanigans, Alice is saying, watch out, that's my friend. So Alice is going to put in double duty here. And we do see a deployment of the Fishbone.
And an inking of Brawl because he also acknowledges, hey, I ain't doing this anytime soon.
Yeah, he's like, okay, well, I guess. And it's a very big investment. You want to, if you're paying for Brawl, you're making sure that it's for something valuable. And right now, he's got bigger problems on his hands.
Right. So Zenulus on 5 ink already, threatening Be Prepared next turn, threatening Sisu 2 turns from now. So that's got to weigh heavy in Eric's mind.
Yes, and that's the one thing. So ward is so nice, so lovely, but you know what ward doesn't protect you from? Board wipes. It is one of those things that does. Now, the Coil part does help because, I mean, that the Sisu package is quite nice at, a little bit of Coil, a little bit of, it used to be Sisu on Ice. Shout out to fellow Team Maelstrom player, Sailor. That's
Sailor.
Sailor. I'm sorry, I was at Pierre Jean-Marc. I wanted to make do.
Yeah, I could tell what you're wavering between.
Yeah, but either way.
Man of many names.
Yeah, but he had Sisu on Ice, which I think he called first Dragon Ruby. And so good news is he changed it to Sisu on Ice. But now Sisu's on coils and the coils are not firing off as powerfully, but we will go ahead and play another Alice.
Yeah, the coils are slinkied up.
They are. We've seen coils they're like, I know that I left this, but I shouldn't have thrown it in my backpack because now my coils are absolutely a mess. But either way, he's going to keep going ahead because there's more than one win condition here. That was a big one. But either way, he's going to go ahead and ink a Tamatoa because guess what? The items party is not firing off either. So, we gotta go towards hopefully a Be Prepared. Now we have talked about.
So he could have Be Prepared that turn. I think he is sitting on a Sisu. I think Eric needs to think, all right, what do I have that has 3 power? Because
yeah, and they don't always run both. I think that's the scary thing, right? Is some people go, I love my coil so much, and no one runs Kiwi Birds. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I just will have my dragon stuff going on.
Yeah, the thing is, when Harlan Sweet isn't playing Kiwi Birds, you're not expecting it.
It's true. If you don't see a very kind British man who's very, very soft-spoken, and Harlan Sweet famous for being the boyfriend of Ali Sweet. And
that is what he is most famous for.
Yeah, and then he came up with a deck, and people are like, that's good. That's really cool that you can do 2 things here. But yeah, we see a dock, and we see why Kiwi Birds. I mean, these are all actually the hallmarks of a Kiwi's deck. Because sometimes I debate, I'm like, is this clinically a Kiwi's Birds? We got Alice, we got Robin, we got Doc, and I think I saw a Pluto. So that is that is the textbook. And you might say, why is it called Kiwi Birds? Because he named it that. There's a longer story, but that's the short one.
I believe it's like the name of it was like an accidental name in Dreamborn.
Yeah, and so it turns out if you win with the deck and a lot of people play her, you can name it whatever you want. So Zenulus now really, really, really needs to come up with an answer. Luckily, the dragon
Eric
can.
on 16 already.
Yes, yeah, he really, really needs to come up with an answer.
Also, Eric perfectly using his Alice's. Like, some people can get that a little messed up. He made it so that all exerted characters of his have ward and quested for additional amounts. Perfect play from Eric.
Yeah, I mean, Eric is saying everything's coming up Kiwi. Not to hammer too hard on the Kiwi part, because it's not green, and that did make my brain absolutely vibrate off the planet. So we got rid of Alice. The good news is you don't need to have Coil. It works. He's like, by the way,
By the way,
that Robin Hood, I see you.
I don't need you to draw a shift target and have lethal.
Yeah.
I also banished that.
Yeah, but 2 Calhouns is still a problem because, I mean,
Right.
lore bursting is a problem here. The reach, lore burst, whatever you want to call it. But basically, that Calhoun, it quests for 1. But if she reaches over to that little dragon, and what do we see here?
Quick peek at Eric's hand. He actually has enough direct damage spells in his hand to just take care of the Sisu and quest for 2.
Yeah, and that's the best case scenario because, yeah, you could technically use those as aggro. But, yeah, if you can keep the Sisu or keep them, then we know that Sisu's not going to get rid of Calhoun, and she would have to challenge, and it's just math that's not in Zenulus's favor.
Yeah, I mean those Calhouns, even just questing, opting instead for a Pluto bodyguard Pluto, just as good. It's going to be pretty difficult to get through that bodyguard Pluto.
Yeah, that Pluto is kind of annoying if you're not playing against, because steel decks can have some funky stuff to deal with it. But if you're not playing steel and you only have 1 character on the board, this Pluto is very, very menacing because he's a bodyguard. And you say 1/5, that's not bad. But if he has no damage,
read the card.
Yeah, then you read it. You're like, okay, let's go. And then you get to the bottom and it says, yeah, when you have no damage, he gets 4. So right now he's a 5/5, and we will see the math. Zenulus doesn't have a lot of outs here other than completely wipe the board, which I have not seen a Be Prepared, and he doesn't seem like a person that's about to play one.
Right. So Pluto is a good boy when he has no damage. Is he a bad dog if he went into battle?
Yeah, bad dog. But
okay,
luckily,
there
Coil
is
here.
Coil.
Yeah, Alice is gone, and the Coil is here, and so we have Fishbone, which does mean we get synced twice. We're gonna do some work here, guy. We can do it. It was all we believe in the power.
Shifting. Yep, we're shifting Sisu onto Sisu.
Yeah, a budget way. You can do it. People do it all the time. Not all the time, but you can do it with Sisu. Another one you'll see is Tinkerbell Giant Fairy. You don't see that as much anymore. And then Lady Tremaine was
Lady Tremaine onto Lady Tremaine was brutal.
Sick business. But wow, Baymax here flying in.
Just showing off. He's
Yeah,
like,
he
you know
doesn't
what?
need to be
I know
here,
I
but he
already
is.
won, but I'm just gonna Baymax.
Yeah,
as
he's
well.
like, I brought this, which is always like we talked about yesterday. If you don't have to show your cool card you haven't shown yet, do you do it? But in some cases, you do because you're like, look, it's a Baymax set. Whenever you quest, you can remove damage, gain lore. So it's more of that lore burst that Calhoun has, which is gonna be really important in steel decks that can run out of steam pretty heavily in the mid game.
And I would say Eric is highly favored in this matchup. Zenulus is going to really need Eric to play only characters that have 2 or less power, especially since Alice can ward things from the Coil. And Zenulus is going to need to ramp as fast as he possibly can to get to the Be Prepareds and the Sisus in his deck, which we have not even seen a Be Prepared. So that's, again, just an assumption. And a Be Prepared that game would have saved him countless lore. By countless, I mean, I can't remember. So
somewhere between 1 and 20.
Yeah.
we know the range. So yeah, Zenulus now, look at this guy. He's like, listen, that was really painful, but he's smiling because Zenulus is friendless. And another kind of story I'll say here is I met him the first time at Disneyland, and it was a couple days after his birthday, but the day before Continentals had started, and there was birthday buttons, and I said, you don't have a birthday button. He said, well, it's not my birthday. I was like, that doesn't count. At Disney, as long as you're like within striking distance of your birthday, it counts.
Yeah.
So I went to a gift store and I said, hey, can you write can you write his name on there? And she said, what is it? And I said, Zenulus. And she said, what is that?
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not sure. Here. And then I showed his Twitter account, and then she wrote it down and said, okay. And then I gave a button to him. But yeah, she said, what's a Zenulus? And I said, I don't know.
Fantastic. Oh my God. Zenulus, you say he's looking, he's looking dapper and all. He's looking calm, cool, collected. Yeah, it's because he's the road warrior of Disney Lorcana. All right. He is traveling everywhere, every weekend. He was just in Florida for the Maelstrom watch party, right? He is part of Team Maelstrom, as we've talked about, he lives near the Pittsburgh area and is constantly getting beat up on by TFM Ben and TFM Melissa. I mean, he's like 0-75 against these two at this point. It's a great rivalry.
I do love it because honestly, like I could not geolocate Zenulus based on how many places he shows up. Yeah, like
Exactly.
it's like
Yeah.
he could live in him and Beefcake. I'm like he could be anywhere
And
at
he
any
started
time.
in Memphis.
Oh, great.
So
So he's just like on witness protection, and he's like, listen, you'll find me everywhere, but you'll never find me at home.
yeah. And if you've watched a Maelstrom video, you've seen their opening scene and that, awesome guitar riff and everything that's playing. That is him.
What? Okay, nah, it's always out of character. Or it's not fair. Him, Kurt Spice.
Yep.
I assume Sailor's in a band. I don't know, but he looks like he should be. Like I'm like he has to have like an alt rock like band.
I could feel it. Yeah.
But that we're done glazing the maelstrom. No, we're never done with that. But what we also saw Eric P say, I saw the weather report said there was supposed to be a storm, but I didn't see it. So now we get to see he's gonna see if the storm is actually coming, and we do see a good start here where we have a
Yes.
popsicle. That is what we need, and we see a ramp on too. So don't worry, guys. It's the storm is brewing.
It's always brewing.
Yeah, it's always brewing. So, and we see some characters here, or rather some options, and we see a character here. We got
Okay.
little Tipo here.
Choosing Tipo over the sale, so he will lose a card in this endeavor, but opting to want the 1/2 body, the shirtless boy, of course.
Yeah, and getting another body because he says, "Listen, Eric, I know you're up to stuff over there, and if that Alice turns sideways, we're gonna work together and
Yep.
use the power of friendship to challenge that Alice because that Alice did a lot of work, like we mentioned."
Exactly. That is amazing, Katie, because that is exactly 4 strength in play that
Yeah.
could take down that Alice. Not only that, the Tipo could do a little poke to that Pluto, and then all of a sudden he's a bad dog.
I love when Tipo is used as a sacrificial, like saying, "Listen, Tipo, you gave us ink, and now you
Chi-
shall save us from Pluto."
Child, go challenge that dog.
Yes, just just a little bit. He won't.
He's
does-
a good boy.
He doesn't bite. He does bite a little bit. Anyway, but he did go ahead. He's out there, and he's already served his number 1 goal, which was helping. And now we see Calhoun, which is a
Yeah.
great answer because Calhoun says, "Guess who? I'm not afraid of either of you."
Right. Calhoun actually has targets this game as well.
Yes, Calhoun is really great in a couple ways. I mean, we've seen her be problematic in the sense that she's not inkable, and if there's nothing on the other side of the board, but it kind of plays into the fact that Zenulus has caught on that this is not the kind of game where you can just ramp and have as much fun as you want. So he is putting characters on the board, and so suddenly Calhoun is back on the menu as a helpful card.
Also, a no item Scrooge.
Okay, well,
The
Scrooge,
amount of misses on cards today has
It's-
been
yeah,
drastic.
we used up a lot of luck yesterday. We saw a lot of people doing some amazing hits, but yeah, today watching a BR guest hit 4 songs, I've never seen it. I've never even thought about that happening. But we see 2 Alice's in hand, 2
Right.
popsicles, and
debating on Alice or Shift Robin Hood.
I don't know. What do you want to do? Because I mean, this is-
I typically opt for the uninkable. Like I said earlier, you might get in a position where you need to ink the card, and he also opts for the uninkable. You also could get in a position where you just want to use all your ink every single turn, and it's a lot easier when you could choose to either shift the Robin Hood later or play it for its full value.
yeah, and now that it's kind of they're both going wide, it's kind of well, we both have to go wide because I mean we need more answers. Alice is going to help. Now Ward is great, but it's not great for protecting from challenges. So hopefully Eric can find some removal. But we found something nice here. It is an old man clock. That is Cogsworth's
Cogsworth.
grandfather clock,
Right.
and he.
And I would put that right into the inkwell in this matchup.
Well, okay, yeah, true. Because eventually, he's great if you're in a fight, a knockout, steal, challenging, and it could be. If Zenulus could never see a ruby card. If this was only these cards in play, sure, we can grandfather clock. But yeah, right now, we're talking about CCs. We're talking about be prepared. Be prepared. Don't care.
Yeah, I do enjoy Cogsworth in the Jasmine variant of this deck. Have you seen that?
The one where it's like ally
Allies
party.
matter? Yeah.
and perfect.
Cogsworth's an ally.
Yeah, June's over, but you can still play that deck. And we will go ahead and see here that he is going to play Popsicle. More cards, more options, and you always want to draw a card before you decide to ink one. But will he
Absolutely.
say, "Hey, Cogsworth, I heard Dick said that you're unusable in this match, so I do have to ink you," or keep? Oh, he inked a Popsicle.
Yeah, I mean, a surprise Calhoun having resist 2 is quite powerful.
It changes the math. I think that like at the end of the day, anything that changes the knockout brawl can help. But in this case, he says, "I really like this, Alice, and honestly, you are still several turns away from the big old dragon. We didn't
Right.
see any daring visitors, which is the littlest of the Sisus out there.
Right.
So maybe he's like, if you're not on the little Sisu, then I can play this in a way where I can get as much value as possible. And we see a strength in hand. More characters makes that strength more powerful, possibly taking out a crab or a Sisu if that comes down.
Yeah, he has many turns because of course, like we said beforehand, Xenulos really wanted to come out of the gates with ramp and a lot of ramp, and he wanted to get to as much ink as fast as he possibly could. Instead, drawing extra cards, which at the end of the day, you need cards to win the game, but at the end of the day, it's not a game of who drew more cards; it's who got to 20 lore faster.
Yeah, that is actually how you win the game. That's one 20 lore pro tip here. You got to get to 20 lore. But we see Vitalis here, which is very exciting, which makes me think, is there a shark? Are you seeing? Because I always think Vitalis here pairs quite nicely with a shark, but it's tough to say.
I do like a cheeky one or two sharks in this version that a lot of people really would be caught off guard by. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, you ink it.
Yeah, and I mean, Vitalis here is good in all sorts of ways because I mean,
Yeah, particularly good with Scrooge.
yes, yeah, because oh my God, he comes in. I mean, sometimes he doesn't get an item. Sorry about that, but when he does get an item, I mean, it's very nice. And so we see the synergy. Workshops do a ton of work. Workshops suddenly people said, "Hey guys, we need to draw cards," and I was thinking about what if we run workshop, and suddenly everybody did that,
Yeah,
and it's worked out quite nicely.
they went to their bulk binder.
It did,
They remembered this card existed.
yes, we all did that once Hiram and Fortisphere were banned, and we said, we need to see what we're going to do. And the answer is, hey, we're going to shift to Robin Hood, sing Storm Raging Fighter, get rid of Scrooge. I don't know what you're up to over
Right.
there, but you're certainly not going to sing, challenge, do anything.
Definitely not wanting to sing with our Alice's, which is fantastic. We only exerted a 3/6, which at the moment is not being, not looking to be challenged by anything.
Your dream king.
Opting to ink the Cogsworth. We're going to even ward the Robin Hood,
Yeah.
and now look, everything has ward that's turned sideways. I mean, this is exactly what Eric wants to be doing.
Yeah, and Alice has a double effect because she gives that ward, but she also increases the lore for one of
Right.
your characters. So it's kind of as you gotta quest them if you gotta, because as we know, the walls start to come in. But I see a lot of Sapphire in the hands of Xenulus at a time where he is hoping to turn
A
the
lot of
ruby.
ruby.
Yeah, this is the ruby time of the game. We did the Sapphire, now we're into the ruby. So he's saying, okay, how do I get to these cards in the most efficient way possible? Because now we have what I would call a problem on our hands. We got Calhouns. We got cards we can't turn sideways because we've got three characters that take advantage by challenging. Two Calhouns that get two lore if they banish a character. And then same thing with Robin Hood, who gets two lore.
Right.
So it's like it's Value City on Eric's side, while Xenios is like, I got a baby and a lady with a screwdriver. A wrench, rather.
Yeah, Xenulo's going to be hard pressed to want to turn anything sideways, but really going to be obligated to when you're facing down this many Alices. I, in fact, named my daughter Alice after this card. My daughter's 5. This card game has only been out for 2 years. So
I'm glad that you pointed that out.
Don't question it. But,
yeah, you said, I have a feeling one day we will put Alice in a tiny bottle and she'll be a great card. And there we go. Inking the Hideaway because,
not for this matchup. Although, still good on turn 2 when you have a Popsicle.
Yeah, it can be a versatile card. We saw it yesterday win a game by hiding away their own Popsicle with 2 sharks in play. But today it is Ink because he is working towards something big here. And that is, gosh help us if we got to get some kind of CC. We got to get some Be Prepared because Eric is about to have a very high lore turn. Because we do see, by the way, that bell is notably sideways.
Yes. And I mean, I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say, is this a nail in the coffin?
It does feel bad to ink a Hideaway.
Well, when your opponent turns right into a real estate mogul.
Yes, they said, "Hey, I saw you had Scrooge." So for those that have never seen this card, McDuck Manor is one of the most egregious things I've ever seen because for 4 inkable, you get a 9 willpower 2.
Yeah,
it changes. It's the math. It just makes it where it's like I don't want peace. I want problems only, and problems you shall get. And now we are looking at on board. I mean, without the math of challenging.
and Eric not even using the single ink to move a character to the McDuck
He
Manor.
could have done it. That's a
Right.
DKP special. You can't be mad at him because he's like, hee, I'm going to do it. And you're like, yeah, you can do it. But he knows that like he's got to be careful because he's been kind of running away in this game, and he can't do anything cheeky right now because that would send
Yeah.
me over the edge if my opponent. I'm like, you're already stop, okay? So we need some dragons. We need some be prepared. We get a bell, and okay, 15 is that? It will be okay. So without challenging, but then
No, the Alice
gives
gives
plus.
+2. Yeah.
But this is the part where you're like, okay, do I not know math? Does my opponent not know math? And yeah, he's like,
No.
wait, oh, he's gonna
And
do
for
that.
good
Yeah.
measure.
Oh
Oh.
yeah, yeah. I think you had it. But listen, who amongst us hasn't killed or banished a character right before you quest for 5 and win?
Right. I mean, I'm not this mean, but someone as villainous as like
Yeah, Eric is
Joseph
gonna
Quigley
join.
would do it as
Yeah,
well.
Joseph Quigley, famous mean person.
Very villainous.
Eric
Yeah.
B's joining the villain team. Actually, we're gonna
I
have
was
to,
try- yeah,
be
I was
like
about to
Eric.
say.
I have seen you do some things that was kind of, but yeah. So this means Eric gets 4 packs, and we're gonna head back to the booth and talk a little bit about that match. But Kiwi Birds,
Yeah, shocking, absolutely shocking. In fact, we just got sent in decks that were 3-0 going into this. It didn't even make up enough to not be other.
it was an other.
It was other.
There's 7 in the other category, and one of them is now 4-0. So will it now get its own category? I hope.
It might. I mean, half of these decks are no longer going to be undefeated. So we had 15 Amber Steel, which to be expected. 12 Ruby Sapphire, also to be expected. Something shocking to me: 5 Emerald Amethyst. Not shocking to Liam though, unless he was expecting it to be like 15 of these.
I think that deck should be 100 of them. But anyway, I think everybody should play that deck. It's a brave deck.
4 Steel Amethyst, so possibly some brooms. I saw some brooming going on there.
You saw some cleaning?
People were sweeping away the competition. And then 3 Samethyst. There's no other name for that deck that I had ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
It is Sapphire, Amethyst, and 7 other decks. While I was out there, there was actually a young man, maybe the age of 10, who was playing Amethyst Amber Hyper Aggro. And I'm really hoping that he is still doing well because he was at the top tables.
Was it Bjorn Foot in a child's costume? Because isn't that his favorite?
I don't know anything other than I love his name. And anytime I ever hear him talk past that, I have no idea what he's saying.
You're like, cards go
I'm
fast.
hypnotized. I'm Basil looking for the Hexwell crown for Jafar when he talks.
Is Baker allowing you to say Basil instead of Basil? Is he?
Oh, I haven't had any tea today.
Okay,
so.
true. Okay, I was like, I think it's Basil. But we, in a moment, we'll go ahead and get to talk about that lean, mean, crushing machine of Kiwi Birds, the most feared deck in the meta. Everybody, that's the funny thing. So there was a time. So we'll tell a quick little story before we get to the interview, where there's a long time ago the game was introduced and people saw Bell and they saw Hook and they said, I'm gonna play Sapphire Steel, and then they never stopped. And then they had a moment in the sun where things were firing. We had Scrooges, we had Fortisphere, we had Hiram, and everything was great.
I topped an SSG with that.
Yeah, and people were feeling like the top of the mood, and then set 7.5 happened where Hiram and Fortisphere was gone, and among the ashes, guess what happened? They kept playing the deck because
they just can't give it up.
They believe in it and they love it, and I love that about them. That they're like, we're gonna make secret Reddits. I'm assuming and like little meetings. And
I'm not allowed in there.
No, because like you have to believe, and like if you've ever had a moment where you're like it's over, they're like, well, you're out. So
right, like they are still in Neverland. We no longer can fly.
Yes, yeah, they're like, well, I believe so. I got some pixie dust and whatever. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it. And we saw there, Eric said, I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to make it seem like everybody should play this deck, and it never went anywhere. And I love to hear that. I love to hear who he's inspired by. We're gonna see. I found out. I was like, oh, I wonder if Harlan and Allie are watching. No, first off, his name's not Harlan because everybody has a secret name. But either way, Harlan Sweet and Allie Sweet, they're in Italy just having a nice time. So they're not even watching me just being like all cheeky because they're having a cheeky holiday.
I do follow them on Twitter. I don't follow a lot of people on Twitter. I do follow them.
Yeah, because they're lovely, and apparently they're keeping the dream alive for people everywhere. That guess what, we call blue steel, Sapphire Steel, whatever you call it. It's called 4-0.